Hello, it is Saturday the 14th of May, and we are taking a weekend off, and we are taking the youngest children, that is Justin Jr., Liliana, Gabriella, and Christopher. He's not young, but he is headed to the Air Force Academy in June, so we're taking the little ones to the Battleship to show them a few things and get them ready for their venture, hopefully on the same path. All right, we're stuck in traffic, so we did the intro here. Good luck. Happy watching. So we're stuck in traffic. There's a car and truck show or something here this weekend, but up on the pedestal there is an F4 Phantom. So my father, Dr. William Davis, was a flight surgeon in the Navy for 20 years, and he flew F4s, A4s as well. Hold on, I gotta do some ticket paying here. But lovely aircraft, a big workhorse during the Vietnam War. So still making our way into the park, but you see on the left and also, on the left here and also one on the right, these would have been mounted on, 1940s, 1950s type era naval vessels. So close in, not super long distance range, but very effective for close quarters aboard a naval vessel of some sort. Has anyone seen the Stephen King movie where the trucks go crazy and like take over a gas station? There it is, it showed up. All right, so we're gonna start this mission out by going into the ticket booth, which is inside the aircraft pavilion, and we're gonna go check in this place. Let's go, JD. So really excited about being here. The last time I was here was with my dad quite a while ago. When I was here last time, they did not have the F-14, which, as you all know from the movie Top Gun, we lived in San Diego, or actually Encinitas, and just to the south of us it's Miramar at that point in time. It was a Navy base. Now it's a Marine facility, but the F-14s were there, so up close and personal with F-14 since I was very young. My father was on the Constellation, the CV-67, and the 64, and the Kennedy, the CV-67, both of which were very active with the F-14s. F-15 Eagle, this looks like an F-15C, single seat version, still a very, very, very big workhorse for the United States Air Force. Jonathan, what's up in Colorado Springs, and Christopher is on his way. The F-16 Falcon, the Fighting Falcon, the pilots call it the Viper. Sleek aircraft, big time workhorse internationally, and the Air Force Thunderbirds fly them. F-18, this looks like an F-18C. Actually, this looks like the YF-17, the more test version or the prototype version of the F-18. So now the Navy flies the F-18E, F, and G, which is the Growler, or the Super Hornets, which generally have a two-seat type platform, but a very, very, very nice aircraft. And this looks like an old F-104 or F-105, I forget. There's no sign on it. It looks like these are just in the process of maybe getting overhauled or painted or whatnot. But I think they called this the THUD, THUD, which was quite a workhorse during Vietnam. It took its share of losses over the skies of Vietnam for sure, but four very, 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 very prominent aircraft in the history of this country. Justin's in the house. The crew's in the house, and JD1 is filming the video. So this is an old AD-4 Sky Raider. This was basically an aircraft that had a job kind of like the Air Force's current A-10 Warthog. Just came in and laid down fire. A close support aircraft for troops on the ground, especially during the likes of the Korean War, Vietnam, and also, and correct me if I'm wrong in comments, I think it was the last turboprop aircraft to be flown by the United States Navy. So the wonderful Tuskegee Airmen and a replica of the P-51 Mustang, the red-tailed angels that they flew during World War II. So a lot of history here in this kind of setup here with the P-51 and the brave pilot who overcome much more than just flying. So great job for them restoring this P-51. So the F-18 Hornet. Been around this aircraft many, many, many times over my life. Been up close and personal with them, on the flight deck with them, hanging out with the LSOs and so forth. So anyway, this is an aircraft very familiar with. Spent a lot of time around this aircraft. Obviously not in flight. That was a big no-no. But anyway, so a lot of respect I have for this aircraft. I actually have a charm on a necklace that has an F-18 on it that I got at Pensacola Naval Air Station. So fine aircraft, one of my favorite aircrafts in the world. So the SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest production aircraft that's ever flown. Not the fastest aircraft that's ever flown. I think Chuck Yeager flew in an X-1 that was dropped off the wing of a B-52, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But this was made for high altitude reconnaissance, and there was no missile that could get up and catch it, so it would outfly the missile. By the time the missile would attain that altitude, the SR-71, the Blackbird, would be long gone. So it looks like little Justin Jr. is really enjoying the SR-71. You like the SR-71, buddy? All right, here's the crew. So I've never studied too much about the old F-86. This is an F-86 Saberjet. Hey, in comments, hey, give me some history on it. I know for sure Vietnam era, maybe Korea, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we were still flying turboprops in Korea, like the F-4U Corsair, maybe the F-8 Panther at that point in time. So I know the F-86 was between that point in time, maybe late 50s till sometime before the Vietnam, or maybe beginning 64, somewhere in there. The air intake on the bottom, kind of like the F-8, which is here. So my father on the Bonhomme Richard, they called it the Bonnie Dick, was I said at the beginning, a flight surgeon. A lot of the pilots he took care of were F-8 pilots. So a lot of these guys were lost during the Vietnam War. Quite a few. The wings would actually sweep up. So on the back, the wings would actually pitch up. And I forget for the exact reasons for that. Dad, you could mention it in comments why, but the wings would pitch up, and I don't know if it was for approach on the carrier or more low-speed flying, but this was a supersonic aircraft, one of the first supersonic aircraft that flew off an aircraft carrier. So this aircraft here, my favorite of all time. This is an A4 Skyhawk. My father flew this many times. I've been around this aircraft from the trainer version, which is the TA4J. Its predecessor for carrier quals was the T2 Buckeye, but the A4 Skyhawk was and is my personal favorite aircraft of all time. Obviously, my dad flew that pretty much throughout his career in the Navy. Obviously, many other aircraft, but this was the one that he flew most often. So, what do you think about Grandpa's plane?
Why does that one have bent wings?
Justin's asking me, why does this aircraft have white stuff all over it? It looks like they're overhauling it or painting it. Oh, with the bent wings? Okay, that's an A6. So that's an A6 Intruder, another aircraft my father would fly. This is, again, a Vietnam-era aircraft. You've seen a couple movies about it called Flight of the Intruder. I think Danny Glover was in it, and Gene Hackman, I think. But that was about an A6 squadron. So this was another really effective aircraft during the Vietnam War time, Gulf War even. It was decommissioned long ago, but recently the EA-6G was decommissioned, which was a 4-seat version of this that they used for jamming and electronic warfare and so forth. And one of the first aircraft we saw, the F-18C, was updated to an F-18G, and the F-18G took the place of this aircraft. So really nice aircraft, and really fun to see it. Been around many of those, alive and well. I just had to take another look at the beautiful A4. Again, so much history in my family around this type of aircraft. So many times being aboard the Constellation or the Kennedy, and seeing my dad around this type of aircraft. So real special place in my heart, this aircraft. So I'll take a quick walk around it. Single-seater, sleek little aircraft. They used it as the Blue Angels for quite a long time. We lived in Virginia Beach, near the base Oceana. We were stationed at Little Creek, which was a base there. We were at a hospital there called Boone Clinic. My dad was, I think, the XO or CO of that hospital, and we got to see the Blue Angels a lot there, and they were flying the A4. So really nice aircraft to see. What's up, buddy? So this is the back of that F8 that I was talking about, where the wings would pivot up. You can see the wings kind of pivot up on its edges as well, so they're no longer horizontal, they're vertical. That was so these aircraft could fit on an aircraft carrier. You could get more aircraft on deck if you had the wings go up, which is why there's different variants of naval aircraft, Air Force aircraft, etc. The landing gear on aircraft, you can see how big it is on these naval aircraft. Air Force will have a more of a kind of a thin, less impact type landing gear, because these things have to touch down and grab an arresting gear cable on the back of the carrier, and it really takes a beating when it touches down. But look at the immense size of this F8. Basically a huge rocket with wings. Very impressive aircraft. It's always fun to see an old Willis Jeep. These used to be boxed up in crates, and they'd be sent overseas in boxes, and they would pop out of the box, and you'd have your operational Willis Jeep. So here we go to the venerable USS Alabama. Wonderful, wonderful ship. Love coming on this thing. It's a pleasure to take the young man to it, and a lot of history on the ship. So let's go check it out. So we're walking up the deck to the Battleship. Nice long walkway, walking the plank. Arg. Beautiful, beautiful day here. You can hear the car show in the background. Ton of people here. The B-52 in the distance. Can't wait to take a look at this on the inside again. We're going to check out the immenseness of these 2,700-pound Mark 8 projectiles. So these days we have cruise missiles, right? So we can set up off, you know, a shore of a battlefield, and we can launch cruise missiles from quite a long ways away. So, you know, back, and I say in the day, but not too terribly long ago, these cannons would have about a 20-mile range, give or take. I'll have to check my math on that, but I want to say about 20 miles. So now we can get, you know, 1,000 miles off the coast and launch, you know, a systematic barrage of cruise missiles. But before, we would have to get close to the shore and pound the shoreline or the battlefield with these large cannons. They're absolutely immense. What do you think, Gabby? Huge cannons, right? They have to fire those bullets or shells out of those cannons. Those are 2,700 pounds. So imagine the power it takes to launch that projectile miles and miles that weigh 2,700 pounds. Amazing. If you were the lonely soldier or a trio of lonely soldiers that were operating these in a battle, you were in close quarters. It was tight. There may be enemy patrol boats around you, incoming aircraft at close range. So if you were operating these in the thick of it, you were definitely in a tight spot. So Lily is trying to reenact the intensity of actually having to fire that in battle. Just to give you an example of sheer size of these weapons. So this is the 5K crew here, okay? And they are just sitting in the middle of two of them. And here's Gabby in between the other two. So huge size, big time devastation. But again, now we have cruise missiles. Usually when I come here, people always ask me, hey, what is this long plank-looking thing with nothing on it? If my memory serves me correctly, there would be a small aircraft on this type of setup here, and it would kind of throw it off the end, and it would be recovered by landing in the water, and then a hoist picking it up from the side and then putting it back on its track. The purpose, reconnaissance. Again, you had binoculars, fancy bigger binoculars, telescopes back in those days, but having an eye in the sky like a drone was not possible, or satellite. So the poor soldier, or a courageous soldier, would get in. The aircraft isn't there, but would get in and would take off and do his thing in support of the vessel. Gabriella up on the rear gunner deck, dreaming of her military academy appointment, and little Justin exploring too. It's always great to take your kids and do things that will prepare them for big things, such as a military career. So this is a real hot spot too. These are anti-aircraft artillery cannons. So imagine if you had, say, a Japanese kamikaze, which, by the way, is a really important story in of itself. So the kamikaze pilots were actually very courageous pilots, and they gave everything to their country and to their emperor, and they would fly into enemy vessels or enemy positions as ammunition was running low late in the Second World War. These young men, these kamikazes, were actually very excited to do what they were going to do, which was not to come back, and their families were very proud to have their husbands to go off and to give the ultimate price, paying their life for their country and emperor. So the kamikazes are a very interesting story, but if one of those was headed your way, or anything was coming in to dive bomb, then these would be on fire. So walking down the aft side of the ship, see the smaller cannons on the side, again close in support, vessel to vessel battle in terms of another, you know, cruiser or battleship is, you know, off in the horizon. These are going to light up more close in, but we're walking again down the aft side of the ship. More anti-aircraft cannons here. Again, I can only imagine having to be sitting there in the thick of it. But again, battle is much more long distance these days, meaning we don't have to necessarily see the target. We just need to be able to pinpoint its location, and it saves lives. Much more precise targeting. So here we go up the ship. Okay, and we are on the second deck. So we're on the second deck. We tried to go out front, but it looks like they're painting the front of it. So we're on the second deck facing the rear of the ship. Tight quarters up here. You can only imagine battlefield or the battle that would take place in this type of scenario. Amazing. Humbling. Rear facing. Beautiful facility. A lot of people there. We'll see if we can head inside this thing and take a look at how these brave men lived and what it looked like from their point of view. A good look at down the barrel of an anti-aircraft system. One thing that's for sure, this was added on much later. There was no AC systems in these carriers back in the day. They slugged it out and they were hot, I can assure you that, especially in the Pacific. Here we are on the third deck. Let's go! So interesting here, I don't remember this last time, but it says this office was staffed by officers and enlisted men who specialized in specific forms of communication and information gathering. So look at it, these are the more vintage way of plotting, of locating things. So now we have computers. We did it by old pen and paper back in the day. So this is as far as I could get out in this area, but you can take a look out of the front of the battleship. So here we are on the top deck. Again, they have the front kind of blocked off for repairs. Well, it looks like I can go around the left side, but this is the top deck. Pretty high up here. Very interesting. Okay, and it looks like I can go a little bit further here, so I think some of the little ones were a little scared of the heights. No, I think they'll show up, but very good view from up here. An amazing place, it truly is. All right, so I think this completes the outside of the ship, at least where we've been. I'll try to get out in front on the front deck to that left side. You saw just a moment ago it was taped off. So I'll try to get around to that left side and see if we can get a frontal view of those huge cannons. Stairways are really steep. Imagine during battle having to fly up and down these things. They're definitely steep. I can remember as a boy going on the different carriers like the Constellation and the Kennedy, and climbing up these things was definitely a tricky task. So I just caught this on the back of one of these machine guns. Lead, damn it, lead. I don't know if you can see that. Lead, damn it, lead. Get some! All right, so we're inside. We're going to the lowest deck, and we're gonna work our way up. So this is the engineer's office. This is a place where the people that dealt with propulsion would do their homework, per se, right? Pretty cool. A nice kind of quaint atmosphere. I could see myself sitting in there. I know Jonathan and Chris would think so. And look at the old box of Lucky Strike filterless cigarettes there. What an interesting touch of history there. Amazing history in this room. Super tight quarters here for sure. Here's the other side of that engineer's office. You see the computer there, LOL, typewriter. Tight quarters here. Imagine bumping your head on this. Not good. Big step up. Watch your head. I used to see those on carriers. Step up, watch head. So you gotta step up and duck. Okay? So if you notice the bunks on the wall and you see these lockers here, the enlisted sailors, non-officers would sleep. You know, you have to have all the room you can on a ship, right? So you have to make room. I remember hearing stories from my father as a boy that they used to take care of their napkins because they had to have all room available for storage and etc. So they didn't want to take up space by having boxes of napkins or boxes of plates. So they would really respect their napkin and take care of their napkins. Just an example of how much space that has to be saved on these vessels. Now, aircraft carriers these days are 10 times the size, if not 50 times the size, have a capacity of around 5,000 sailors, and their nuclear propulsion systems let them go forever. So, so many years, or not many years ago, technology was so much different. I guess this would be the place where firemen would keep their stuff in case there was a mishap on the ship, fire, ammunition explosion, anything. So surely these guys saw some hot spots. Really interesting. This is the chapel. So if you look in here, you see the small piano. Again, spaces everything. You see the small area for people to come in and worship, which is a great thing. A place for the preacher. Really, really, really humbling scene here. The old way of getting to the bottom in a hurry, these massive, heavy suits would be fitted to a sailor, and he would go down, fix the ship, look at the hull, defuse mines, you name it. But could you imagine going in that? I would be so claustrophobic, I wouldn't be able to think straight. Wow, incredible. Here's the air pump. It looks like this is how they're keeping those guys breathing down there. Here's some pictures of back in the day when they were doing just that. Amazing. Courage. So we're going to take a look at the post office, the navigator stores, and the landing force equipment locker. Could you imagine back in the 40s sending a letter to someone on the ship? It would go from the U.S. to some type of hub, then on a plane or a ship, and then ultimately to get out to sea via another ship or another type of aircraft, probably a helicopter of some sort. But think about that. We get mail now by the push of a button. Now, not the case. So it looks like this is the mail room. Pretty cool, right? Some packages in there. A lot of happy sailors would surely come to this office and get the letters from the loved ones that they can't wait to see and hopefully they return to. So here's a navigation store, so a storeroom for navigational equipment. Navigator storeroom. Okay, when my father flew in two-seat aircraft like the TA-4J, second seat was for the navigator, and he was in that navigator seat quite often.
This way.
So we've seen where the enlisted gentlemen will sleep, literally cots that pull out from the wall to save space in their lockers. Now these are warrant officer quarters, so a step up from those guys, not officers' quarters, warrant officers' quarters. Much better setup for them, still very tight, very cramped. But this is more of an officer type setup, so it always pays to try to move forward a little bit with service, try to study, try to excel, try to be the best, and try to get into that officer type room, right? Very humbling, very cool, awesome.
What is this? Is this where the
Okay.
officers slept?
Yeah, this is the break room. See the card tables.
Much better room.
Yeah, it's always, that's my wife just said, yeah, they have a much better room. Yes.
Way better.
Wonderful career being a military officer, or military in general, but being an officer, put the work in and it will definitely pay off. Pretty cool, right? Look at the card table.
Say, look, that's where you would sleep, Chris. Like, you're going to be in the Air Force.
Yeah, he'll be Air Force. Doesn't mean he can't frequent any of the branches ordnance.
They had a much better room.
Yeah.
I like the doors.
Hopefully you're enjoying the tour. I know I am. So another view of the tight quarters that these enlisted gentlemen, courageous souls, had to sleep. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4 high, 2 deep. Tight quarters there. I would love to hear some of the stories that these guys would say to one another when they were going to sleep at night. One of the most important parts on the ship, the officer's galley. In other words, the kitchen. Okay? Pretty nice kitchen. You can be darn well rest assured that these were very, very clean. Military officers are well versed in running a tight ship, hence the name, tight ship. I know when we were young, having a tight ship, meaning house, was number one. Academics tied with that, and tennis tied with that. Tight ship, academics, and tennis. That's it. Heading back up to the main deck. Okay, so this is the captain's cabin. My father was an 06, a captain in the Navy, not on battleships, but on carriers. So nice to see the captain's cabin. Nice area, place to eat. So the captain and his crew could do surely some battle discussions and preparations and logistical plans there. And a look at the captain's quarters. So this is the CL, the captain of the ship's quarters. So surely this gentleman or the gentleman that stayed in here had a lot of food on their plate. And I mean that in terms of, not in a bad way, but they had a lot of responsibility. So I'm going to take a quick look at the theater. Surely in the 40s there wasn't color TV, but nonetheless, surely there was a little theater. Interesting little place. Going down to the lower deck on the rear of the ship. We were just in the front. Kind of an interesting place, the garbage disposal. I wonder how that process works. So I see the bags of trash, I see some types of engines. Someone in comments, how did this work? Maybe they put it in the top and then grinded it up and they dumped it at sea. Let's see, garbage was brought to this compartment to be ground up in the machine seen in front of you. It was then flushed overboard and underwater so it would not leave a visible trail behind the ship. Any remnants may be spotted by enemy aircraft or submarines. This would give away not only the ship's position, but the whole task force opening it to attack. Interesting. So this is called the ship fitter's room. Looks like different things were fabricated and assembled in here. So machine type items, different types of nuts, bolts, fixtures, tubes, piping, etc. Interesting. A lot of hard work surely went on in there. Very interesting. This is the butcher shop. So I'm curious. I'm guessing they didn't bring live cattle or anything on here, but I do see meat hanging. So probably they brought it on board, kept it frozen in slabs, and then cut it off as needed. But a lot of men were very hungry and surely got the best of the butcher shop. The place to come after a long, hard day of work. This is the galley. Nice little buffet set up. A lot of hard work going on in this room. I can guarantee you the crew was very, very thankful for the men that worked in here. So some interesting sailor slang. A sailor says abaft. A landlubber says behind or out back. Aground, stuck on the bottom. Aye aye means yes sir, and so forth. Here's the dishwashing room. Very important as well. They bring their trays here and silverware and cooking utensils and get them cleaned up for the next round. Various places for men to sit and eat. And they're kind of lined up around the cooking area. What's up, buddy? Okay, JD1 wants me to follow him in here. Oh, my favorite military aircraft. F4 Phantom, father fluid. F-14, F-18 we've already seen a little earlier. At least out front, the real thing, but nice room here. This side's fruit was a little fresher. Interesting. Little cereal boxes. Kellogg's Pep, anybody heard of that? Rice Krispies, we all know that. Crumbles, never heard of that. Corn Flakes, yes. Bran Flakes, yes. And looks like from the butcher shop came the sausage, the grits. I think actually, believe it or not, I'm not kidding. I think this was called shit on a slab, SOS. My dad used to say that when I was little, that he had shit on a slab. Sorry for the language, but it's true. SOS. I'm guessing that's SOS. And some sausage. A quick stroll down the side of the USS Alabama. Quite a large ship, and I'm starting this walk halfway across the deck. So the wooden deck panels, interesting to see. Surely those aren't original, but nonetheless, it was a wooden deck. Long ship. The kids are going up top. I wanted to come out front and check out the front of the ship and the cannons out here. And here comes the crew. Christopher out front, Liliana behind, Gabriella, Justin Jr., and Carlita. And of course, Jonathan is at the Air Force Academy. So what's up, Jonathan? Love you out there, buddy. Chris will be there soon. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. And here we go. Truly massive. Incredible. This is the front of the ship. Yeah, there's a sub too. Yeah, you guys want to go to the submarine? Let's go. So last stop on the ship, Christopher's going to take us all the way to the top. I haven't been up there. I didn't realize that you could get quite all the way to the top, so I'm looking forward to this. Now to another flight. Another flight. Another flight. We're getting up there.
Careful with your head over here.
Beautiful view, right? Another flight.
You hear me? Careful with your head over here.
Another flight. Killer.
Let's go.
What are you doing, buddy? Scared?
Come on, I'll follow you. No.
Little guy's like, man, we're up here now. Check out the view. Beautiful. Another flight. Another flight. Wow, I definitely missed this the past 15 times I've been here. Glad I'm doing it now. And here we are. We made it to the top. Oops. What a view. Yes, we're going to go to the submarine. The submarine is... Oh, it's over there. So we're going to go to the submarine. Let's do it. All right, we are heading to the Uss Drum, recipient of 12 battle stars for her service in World War II. Let's go check it out. An outside shot of the USS Drum. Here's the front of the submarine there, and the rear is behind this patrol boat here. So look forward to going on board this thing. I know it's going to be tight quarters in there, so imagine the sailors that were inside of this thing. And I can assure you there was no air conditioning in there. Let's go see. Another view of the F-14, the F-15, the F-16, the F-18, and the F-105. Interesting. Much better look at the USS Drum from here. And obviously this would normally be on or under the water, but it is a museum now above water. Really cool deck surface here. I'm guessing the water would be able to penetrate through that as it could become a submersible. What's left of the 5K crew? 4K now, well 5K, just not here currently, in Colorado Springs. So it says no climbing up on the tower, so we can't go up there, but not too terribly far up there, so nothing ventured, nothing gained in a sense, but oh well. And here is a 5-inch 25 caliber deck gun. It says occasionally a submarine would go to the surface to sink small enemy targets by gunfire in order to save her. Few and expensive torpedoes for attacks against large ships. The other guns are 40mm single mount and a 20mm twin mount. So here we go. So pretty interesting, the torpedo tubes. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4 torpedo tubes. So they would load those, and hopefully they got a direct hit, which would be an enemy ship. Here is one of the torpedoes here, or a mock of one. Pretty long, right, Lily? All the way down there, all the way to here. A little prop on the back. Very interesting. Tight space in here for sure. Imagine being out to sea underwater for X amount of time in one of these. Small little bunk. 2 brave souls for that. Little kitchen, little room here, little galley.
This is so tiny.
What is this? The wardroom? Officers ate their meals in this room. So cool.
Warning, damage or removal.
Okay, dishwashing area, officers pantry it says. So keep dishes in here, little wash area, places to keep food. Interesting little officers' quarters in here, a little desk, little locker, little safe. Yep, here's some officers' medallions here. Control room.
Mom, can we go there?
A lot of instrumentation here.
It's so much easier going up than it is coming down.
Very, very interesting.
There's more down there. You're just gonna have to go. Yeah, I know.
Imagine studying to drive this. Looks like you have depth gauges and so forth. I wouldn't know where to begin. Someone did. So these are some of the war patrols. So here's the west coast of the United States. Looks like maybe it was in the San Francisco area. That's where I was born, by the way, San Francisco. Looks like it would go to Hawaii, maybe to replenish, and then head on over into the Pacific. Looks like over here's Taiwan, here's Japan, so it looked like it spent a lot of time in the Pacific. Long trip in this little boat. Cool, Gabby, huh? So the submarine galley, I won't spend much time with it because I have a long line of people behind me, but pretty interesting here. Tight quarters there. Hard-working young man. So it looks like Gabriella's found her way to the game room, eating place. Doesn't look like the crew is very large on this vessel. It has not much seating room compared to the Battleship.
Look at their eggs. Ew.
Okay, just a few more sleeping areas, and it looks like we're going to come to an end of the front of the ship. No, it looks like it goes a little bit further here. And this would be the engine's room. So I won't go much further there. It's just tight quarters, just the engine room, but pretty cool. Power plant of the submarine. Further into the engine room, lots of dials, pressure readings. A lot of hands actively working here. Tight. And looks like we have one more hatch here. There might be an exit here. You can see very tight in here, much less the footwork. My foot width, not much. Good time, buddy?
Buddy, no drinks.
The crew walking through.
No drinks allowed.
And we found the exit. Yeah. A whole different level of appreciation for these gentlemen that were in early era submarines. Now these days they're, nuclear powered, and you can fit, a few hundred people on them, if not more. Again, I mentioned earlier in the video, aircraft carriers 5,000 plus. I missed this earlier. It doesn't even have a tag in front of it, but this is a Sea Sprite. This is a helicopter my father would frequent. I know my dad will see this. Hey, in comments, mention a couple of stories that you had on the Sea Sprite. So this little boom on the side, you can see it's red and yellow. That would drop down on a cable and go underneath the water, and it would ping sonar looking for submarines. So it was like an anti-submarine helicopter, and these would be on all types of ships, mainly carriers, battleships, and so forth. And this helo flew well into when I was a child. We would see these all the time on carriers' flight decks. You can see the torpedo here, but this is a Sea Sprite. Fun-looking helo, and been around this live version of it many times. This, by the way, is an F-22, and little Justin here asked about it. So Jonathan or Chris could fly F-22s. They're both headed to the Air Force Academy. It would be a dream of mine for them to fly the F-22. The F-35 is another fine aircraft. I don't see a picture of or a model of an F-35 here, but this is the most dominant air superiority, 5th generation stealth fighter in the world, the F-22. You like that, Justin? So hopefully everybody enjoyed the 5K tennis family day. We haven't had a chance to hang out with the kids in a while. We've been super busy, so we wanted to come to the Battleship. And again, it's always important to start training your little ones for their futures, like now. So currently, even our 6-year-old Justin, we're already talking to him about the military and studying hard and already preparing for his ACT, believe it or not. We do review ACT stuff even at his age. Ask Lily, ask Christopher, ask Jonathan, and they didn't get 32s on their ACT because we started them the week before they took the test. So study hard, enjoy your day, have a great day. If you watched it this far, you're definitely 5K family, appreciate it. We'll see you guys a lot here in the next couple of weeks for the French Open, so get ready for that. Don't forget to subscribe if you're playing the $500 cash giveaway for the French Open or the $100 fantasy team competitions. Make sure to subscribe. It's a fun time. We're going to take these kids to get something to eat, and we'll see you guys very soon. All right, take care, peace out, much love, and be kind, because everyone you meet is fighting a tough battle. Vamos, and let's go.